joined today by filmmaker, production designer, and creative Uzair Mيرشنت.
He worked in some of the biggest Hollywood productions, but now he decided to tell his own stories.
Why do you create art?
It's the only way I know how to live.
The creative universe.
Use cinema more than just the medium of visual spectacle.
This takes its time, let it marinate. You want peace, then just meditate. I'm coming for you all right now, let me demonstrate. What's this, let me educate. Coming for the top, drop down like you're relegated. Hold up, hold up, hold up.
What do you know about Fringe and the other world?
How are you as a director?
Artists create through pain, which is creating through life, and that's what gives you art. As an artist, the only thing they know how to do is still go and create.
What do you teach?
About transcendence of the human mind. I also started out coding and building computers when I was like 10 and 11.
No. Do you think it's possible to jump realities?
That's why I went exploring this, is what if we're living in an entity that's living in an entity? I mean, I wrote my entire universe based off tracking my dreams.
Do you want to tell us the lows and how you got out of them?
Start investing in yourself.
Tell us a bit more of the huge projects that you worked on.
Why do some people have very dark dreams and other people don't?
Most human beings are not fully honest with themselves. Why are we in this rat race? For what?
Do you ask questions for the sake of answering them or for the sake of exploring?
The entire purpose of life was to ask questions. It was not to get answers. The answer was already here.
What is something you learned from Hollywood and working in Hollywood that you didn't learn in acting school?
A lot of times I will play around with their psyche on set.
Was the reason of that because you didn't fully connect with the stories that were being told?
Ooh.
I feel like my brain is expanding so much right now. From Skyfall to Fast and Furious, he's now creating his own creative universe.
We are joined today by filmmaker, production designer, and creative Uzair Mيرشنت.
He worked in some of the biggest Hollywood productions, but now he decided to tell his own stories.
Welcome, Uzair.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
It's so good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, because we want to know all about your journey, I want to start with, what are the highest moments of your career?
I think they're yet to come.
Good answer.
Yeah, because I don't see it as highs and lows. I think it's about what's the best you can do with that time.
Ooh.
And each job is different. So there's the highs of each job, but I think if you go off, this is the high of my career, I think you're going to end up with an ego flex, and then how do you push that further? So I kind of stay away from that.
Oh.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
That's interesting because our industry is known for its highs and lows.
Yep. And that's the industry.
Yeah.
It is the highs and lows. Each job goes through that. So if you're not willing to take part in those highs and lows, you're not really pushing yourself to a creative cycle. What you're doing is you're just going with the flow. But there's going with the flow, which is I'm working on a job, and there's how can I influence this job to make it better.
Wow.
And usually if you want to do that, there's highs and lows.
How do you make it better?
Exploring. You
Okay.
have to be able to be willing to make mistakes. And I think there's a certain risk factor that comes into that.
That's such good advice.
Yeah. If you're not willing to take the risk to go wrong, then you're not really pushing it, because then someone's already done it and you're kind of replicating what that's been done with before. But you can only innovate if you're going to push. And when you push, usually there's an element of failure. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay knowing this will not work. But then you try to do everything to make it work. Along the way, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but something else will happen.
Okay.
And I think that's the part of innovation.
Talking about innovative, you are also quite futuristic in the terms of how you involve Web3, etc. into your productions.
Yep.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yep, for sure. So funny enough, what people don't know, a lot of people don't know, is I was VR game testing 20 years ago in Dubai.
Are you joking?
No, there's actually a Gulf News article with my name when I was 10 years old.
Wait, you were 10?
Yeah,
How old are you now?
33.
MashaAllah.
Yeah. And so I was VR game testing that time in the middle of Dubai. So if you told anyone, hey, VR back in the day, they'd be like, what are you on about, right? So I was kind of living a lot in that world. I also started out coding and building computers when I was like 10 and 11.
No way.
So I kind of went through that phase of involving tech in whatever I did.
So you've been doing that for your whole life, basically?
Pretty much,
Right.
yeah. So it was, let's take tech and let's explore that. That kind of went and pushed along the way. So I came from music. So I used to make music and DJ, and then went into live sound.
Okay.
And then went into film. And then film, you kind of come into this path wherein it incorporates all aspects of creative process. For me personally, I went through the journey of production design. So I spent 15 years, working as a production designer and an art director. And that was my way of going, if I can understand the business, then I know how to create. A lot of areas in film, tech has allowed it to change a lot, lights, camera, blah, blah, blah. Production design is something that the process never changed. You need a script. You have to take words from paper, visualize it. Something has to get built. Something has to get made. Actors have to live in it. And then you go and do what you want to do. And then you add your VFX and post. So for me, it was, let's take that world of what you'd call analog and then use digital to kind of up it. So when I went down into adding the Web3 and all of that, it was me using all of that to go, okay, now we have a whole piece of product. How does an individual artist take and monetize and leverage this out? That comes to the question which you asked before of the risk, because there's a risk. You think that, hey, I'm going to go to a studio and they're going to take my stuff and I'm going to grow up as an artist. But a studio will sign 1 out of 100 people. What happens to the other 99? It doesn't mean that the work wasn't good enough. It just means it was not good for them.
Yes.
But you have to find a house for it somewhere else. So I started to leverage that idea of going, okay, if I take a single piece of what you'd call intellectual property, so take IP, and then how do I grow IP out? So Web3, digital assets, that's when I kind of incorporated all of that in. Yeah.
You are smart.
You're a smart man. Okay, so I wanted to say this on the podcast because maybe some people don't know what Web3 is. So maybe explain to them what that is.
Sure. We're actually in the phase of Web 4. So, people still talk about Web 3. So Web 1, if you go back to the, initial days of what internet and how it was all about information, right? Access of information. Web 2 became the e-commerce part of it. How do you take information and mix commercial with it? Web 3 became more of a personalization. That's when you got the birth of NFTs and all of that, digital assets. Web 4, where the world we're going into now, is a personalization and ownership of that.
Right.
And so that's kind of the cycle we're going into. So think of Web3 as using information that's there outside with commercializing it, but also retaining a piece of it. So artists can actually leverage that, where you're not crying for residuals and you're not crying for kickbacks and all of that, wherein you actually own a piece off of it. And one of the ways I did that was I made a music video in Canada through COVID, and it was one of the world's first NFT music videos.
Wow.
Right? And we actually went through the securities exchange and all of that, and I created a full legal system of how you can leverage an IP. So I published a book, which was a script of mine called Black Rose.
It was a script.
Yeah, so I published it as a book, and I used that book to then create this music video, and then we created an entire legal document.
How did you do that? You shot a music video.
So I shot a music video.
Yes.
And at that point, everyone was, kind of digitalizing images, and you had these Bored Ape NFTs and all of that, right? So I was like, hey, I want to go one step ahead. So I took an entire music video and scaled it down, and then turned it into an NFT. And then that basically had a legal subscription agreement that broke down every single creative aspect out of it, which is costume, characters, music, all of it in one document, right? And then that was linked to my book. So it was linked to something physical. So when people are like, oh yeah, but NFTs are not physical. I'm like, yeah, but we created a link. So this is tied to this. And then we gave a piece off of it to all our crew members and our cast. And
how did you give a piece? And because an NFT, from what I understand, is like a unique.
Yep. So we created something called an NFT, which exists today.
Okay.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure, but in Dubai as well now, in UAE, you can buy fractional shares of crypto and stuff like that. So you don't need to buy one Bitcoin. You can buy 100 dirhams, a part of it, right? It's the same thing. Think of it like shares. You have a company. You have 100%. You break it down into shares. And so that's what it was. So you had one NFT, which was a music video, 100% of it. We fractionalized it and then broke it down into what you can own out of it, the entire thing.
And that is FNFT.
FNFT, fractional NFTs, yeah.
Yeah, fractional NFTs.
Fractional NFTs. And that was a way of leveraging digital assets with Web3 to actually...
How did people react to that? Because there's such a, as we were saying, futuristic idea that you had. How did people react to that?
First, they didn't get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you guys a funny story. We had lawyers. I'm not going to name anybody to get anyone in trouble, but we had a whole bunch of lawyers sitting down on a table, and I had like 8 of them looking at me going, why are you doing this? like why? And the way I broke it down to them going is, without any offense, you guys all came to work today for a paycheck. When you finish and retire, you're going to ask for what a severance package and your pension.
Yeah.
And then that's your career. As an artist, you give an artist $1 million, the only thing they know how to do is still go and create.
Yes.
But the difference, what you guys don't understand, is that you always want a formula. So suits, as I call them, they want a formula. Hey, does this work? What's the exit? Show me a 5-year exit plan of how this is going to work out. But they forget that artists create through pain, which is creating through life, and that's what gives you art, right? Van Gogh went through pain. He was sitting in an asylum at some point when he, came up with Starry Night, and cutting his ear and doing all of that. Artists go through those emotions. So you can recreate a piece of art exactly as it is, but will it be worth the same value? No.
Oof.
And that's the beauty of, I think, artists creating what they do. There is a story behind it. So you can use AI right now and go and redo the Mona Lisa, go and remake the Starry Night, pixel by pixel. Are you going to get the same evaluation? No. It visually looks the same.
Yes.
So technically, I can argue it's the same.
Yes.
But it's not the same because it's lacking a human element of it. There's a story that goes behind it.
Right.
And so I think that was the process of, look, there is something that you can do with art that can actually affect people. And the main reason why I did it was wealth distribution, is for me to create a cycle that not affects me, but hopefully 50 years from now, artists from all over the world can leverage this. You have a kid from Palestine, from Syria, from Africa sitting down creating a piece of art that, say, the next James Bond film goes, hey, we really like that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We can take that piece in, and overnight they get $1 million valuation, which means you just changed someone's bloodline.
Oof, that's
purely on
crazy.
the base of what their art is.
So you would recommend artists to start investing in fractional NFTs?
No, start investing in yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start investing in yourself, because it's not the end product, but it's why are you doing it? I did it because I was creating my own IP. So I created my own little Marvel universe. We published 2 books. The 3rd one's on the way. So I have 16 characters that I built over 10 years. And for me, I was like, that's my world. I want to leverage this. So I used music and each bit one by one to kind of leverage that.
Yes.
My end goal was always, how have I created my universe that has also leveraged tech, that has also leveraged the art, but has also created new cycles for other artists.
Wow.
It's not just about me. There's other people involved in this.
Wow. Honestly,
So-
I'm blown away. That's so smart.
Yeah,
Do
Thank
you
you.
think it would be possible to also create like movies NFTs?
Yeah.
Or is there like certain? Sorry, I'm not very techy. I don't understand much about it. So correct me if I'm wrong. There's like a weight limit onto how big an NFT can be, for example.
There is a little bit of a limit on it, but
Yes.
there's ways to do it. And I think you're coming to an age wherein gaming is kind of taking that over, right? So, the gaming industry is actually, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 times more than any other industry. So if you take music, film, all of that combined together, gaming is still 3 times larger.
Wow.
So I'm talking all of film in the world, all of music, right? Gaming still holds a massive, and I think digital assets kind of come in there.
Right.
So the world of cinema is kind of merging very closely in to that other side. And people are already leveraging it, but they just don't know about it. Just because if I ask you, you went onto a website today, what code was it written on? You went onto a website. You don't care, right?
yeah,
You don't
true.
care if it's React or it's HTML.
We don't
You're
even
like,
know what it is.
right? It's a website.
Yes.
It's the same when it comes to the future of digital assets. NFTs became a thing because it had a hype, it had a drop, a lot of people got scammed, so there's bad blood behind it.
Yes.
But if you take the application of it, it's digital assets, and it's
Yes.
existing right now, and it's existing in a large way. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it was Starbucks that overnight had converted their 27 million customers onto a platform called Odyssey, and it was basically their digital asset platform. So if you were a Starbucks reward holder, overnight they just swapped the platform, and it went now to digital assets. And so there's stuff like that that's existing. I think it's a matter of adoption and market adoption.
Wow, that's incredible.
I'm learning so much.
Me too. And the fact that you have completely merged the world of film with the world of tech and investing, it's just not something you hear every day.
Yeah.
How did you get interested, because you started at such a young age? How did you get interested in each sector, and why?
Purely exploration. Film was not just that. Film for me was, how do I take anything that I want to create and put it on to tell a story? That's what it was. I want to tell a story, and how many unique ways I can tell that story in. But the reason I studied production design was certain directors that I looked up to, James Cameron, Hitchcock, Spielberg, most of them. So Ridley Scott, James Cameron, they were all art directors or designers.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
James Cameron, till
didn't know
today,
that.
if you actually watch some of his masterclasses and his interviews and stuff, everything starts for him on the design.
Wow.
He was an art director, yeah. And so was Ridley Scott. And so you can see their films are very visual.
Yes.
But
True.
if you see James Cameron went and actually created the tech when no one said it was possible for things like Avatar. And so that kind of put me in this mindset going, okay, you know what? No one's going to get it. We're going to go out and make
Until
it.
you do it.
Until you do it. Yeah, go out
Wow.
and show them a case study of this is how it's possible.
You want to be the next case study.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You will be.
Not me, my work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Generally, as in like an artist who's exploring,
Yes.
who should not care about whether they get it or not. You just have to keep the mindset of, I want to be the next case study.
Yes, I want my work to be the next case.
Yeah.
It's more about who made it, but rather than going, what was that?
Yeah.
And eventually it'll come down to, who made it? But to me, it's more like, think of it like having a baby, right?
Yes.
You have your kid growing up, and then you're like, hey, that you want to see your kid succeed. It's kind of like that. So like
Wow.
my creative projects are like, hey, I'm going to grow these. And then at one point they'll walk on their own. Stan Lee, he did that with Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to do in the next 5 years, for example? Do you have any projects already in mind where you could merge technology with your creations, your movies?
So my universe that I mentioned to you,
Yes.
it's called the Creative Universe.
Yes.
We wanted to ask you about that. Please tell us more about it.
Yeah, so it's the third book's coming out in a month, and I'm
What do
writing
you
the
write
fourth
about?
one. It's facts and myth to create fiction. So I've used an Adam and Eve timeline between past, present, and future to create this entire. So they're all connected, this entire universe, and it all uses tech that probably is coming out now that I involved long ago.
Weibo, right?
So my
Wow.
first book was Black Rose. That was about transcendence of the human mind.
I love
And two sisters, one who's autistic, and one of the father uploads the autistic sister's brain online.
It's science fiction.
Sci-fi.
I mean,
Yeah, completely
Yeah.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
And so that's set in 2050. The second one I wrote was called The Eighth Sin, which is, the 7 deadly sins, lust,
Yes,
greed.
yes,
The
yes.
eighth one to me was immortality. And we're in that phase right now.
We're
So-
literally in that phase right now.
Yeah, and I published this 2.5 years ago.
Oh my God.
And so the eighth sin was about a mother and daughter, and a mother who gives birth to her daughter, and she's actually her clone. And so it's the world's first clone, and that relationship of not only having your daughter, but how does that actually work with your next generation?
What's the name of this? What's his name? There's this man now who is using his
Yeah.
son's blood to
I've
keep
seen that.
young.
Yeah.
That just reminded me of what you just wrote so much. It's not the clone, but they're literally exchanging blood just to keep
But
young.
did you see what happened after?
No.
So he kept going through the process, and then it came a point where, because his aging slowed down, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then came a point where you don't mess with human like nature. See, we're
happened?
tech within ourselves. it reversed and it started aging twice as fast.
No way.
Yeah, there's a report about it. Check it out.
So the guy decided to go and take his blood sons and just
No,
to,
it's not just that. He's trying. He wants to be the
I want to
first
know the
man.
story because I don't know it.
Ah, okay.
He's the first man who's trying to age backwards.
Okay.
So I don't know. He's 70. How old is he?
I'm not sure what his age is, but he doesn't look
He
his age.
looks so young.
He looks like he's in his late 30s, early
Yes.
40s, but he is way older. And he basically, if I'm not mistaken, he had to do like 12 or 14 hours a day of transfusions and be in these
Yes.
in a cryo and stuff like that. Basically just refitting up his DNA by using his son's blood and stuff like that. But then it came a point, it started doubling. In
Wow, I
reverse
didn't
side.
know that.
Yeah, very interesting. So again, you don't mess with nature.
You don't mess with
No one
nature.
cheats
Yeah,
death.
no.
No,
there
she
was
said.
also another guy who's he's a billionaire, and his main goal in life is to be immortal.
Mm-hmm.
And all he does every single morning is take like 90 different
Might be
pills.
the same one.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
Is he the billionaire?
Probably.
I've
He's
never heard
rich.
about the blood transfusion, but I do know that like even the way he talks is now robotic. It's like
It might be the same.
Probably.
super like monotone.
Yep.
He doesn't like to have spikes in happiness,
Yeah.
spikes in sadness.
Yep.
He meditates. He does all sorts of things all day long just to stay immortal.
Yep.
And he does look like 30.
I think we're talking about the
maybe
same
the same
person.
person. Maybe the same
Maybe.
person.
Yeah.
But it's like, what's the point of that? We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right.
People forget that, right?
Yeah.
This is a human experience.
Yes.
It's not supposed to last forever.
No.
And why would you? We're visitors. We're
Visiting.
We
here
come
on
and go.
Earth,
Yeah.
short time, make your mark, do what you got to do, and then we move on.
Yeah.
Which is why it's called passing away.
I like that.
You're passing away.
How did I just realize that?
What?
Wait.
You see, it's the most simple things. It's just
How did I
context.
just realize that?
She just had a moment.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
It's a
'cause-
stop.
Passing
It's
away.
a station.
Yeah.
It's just like you're
That's
passing
it.
by the station.
So why
and-
would you want to be here forever? And for what? Unless you're doing something that actually is changing the world in that way, why would you want to be here for more than your time?
Yeah.
Also, you can't control it. I guarantee you. When your time is written, it's written.
Did you see all these like huge billionaires that they're like getting frozen now to see when the technology advances?
Are you joking?
No.
So I'm gonna ask you guys now, film buffs, which film showed it to us in the 80s?
Sorry?
There was a film in the 80s that came out that showed this to us
I don't know.
with AI and freezing all
In
of
the
this.
80s?
In the 80s.
Which one?
Come on, you guys. 2001 Space Odyssey. You guys haven't watched 2001 Space Odyssey? Okay, listen, put it on your list today.
Wait.
Write it down.
Stanley Kubrick was the director.
I love Stanley Kubrick, but I haven't watched that one.
I've watched the film with, I think,
It's one of the greatest films
Okay,
ever made.
okay.
It was
And how was
so
it made with
famous,
AI?
by the way. It was so famous that even the starting of Barbie is the entire replica of 2001 Space Odyssey. They recreated the entire sequence. So the apes and all of that. I haven't seen the full movie of Barbie. I just saw the opening.
Okay.
But, they have the scene of
Yes.
back in the day. And,
Yes.
That's all 2001.
Can you say what it is about a little bit? Don't spoiler.
Okay, so without spoilers, it's about a journey of two people that are being sent on a mission to transport something to another planet. And on that flight is an AI machine called HAL. And HAL became really, really, really famous because that was that AI machine that turns on humans. And that's that process
things
of it.
happen, okay.
And this was the 80s. I think it was 86, 85, 86 was
Ooh.
2001.
Do you think he was trying to tell us something back
Of course. Life imitates art, imitates life. That's the
then?
way
Did you
it
watch?
works. Life imitates art,
Yes.
imitates life.
Did you watch Eyes Wide Shut?
No, I have not seen Eyes Wide Shut.
Okay, so
So
you
now
you
that's
have
my
to watch
violence.
that. It's also from Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, the original one. Okay, I thought there was a remake.
No.
Okay, yeah, the
you have.
original. Yes, of course. I
He
have the
was
box set
definitely
of
also
Stanley.
trying to tell
Yes,
us something in that one.
all his work.
Yes.
But if you go one step even before Stanley Kubrick, you had a film called Metropolis.
I've heard of that one, but I haven't watched
That
it.
was in the 50s, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. And every single sci-fi film has referenced Metropolis, from Blade Runner to Star Wars and
Yes.
Star Trek, all.
Uzair, how do artists foresee that?
I
We've
dream
had-
about it. I don't know about other people.
You
but
dream
Really?
about it.
Yeah.
What do you dream about?
I mean, I wrote my entire universe based off tracking my dreams. And that's kind of how I kind of pieced it together.
Please tell us more.
Yes.
In
How
fact,
did you track your
Tell
dreams?
us a situation, a certain dream that you had. You woke up and you started writing. I want to know that.
It's not just a day. I did
Okay.
it for months and years.
Do you
Okay.
practice that? It is like a ritual that you have?
Yep, I teach
how does it
students how to
work?
do that too. So I think that the modern term is called dreamscaping. And you know, when you go to sleep, scientifically, your mind is way more active. So I started questioning many years ago, how is that possible? Because it's supposed to be called rest. But if your subconscious mind is way more active when you're asleep, that's not really resting. So technically your body is, but something is working. And what was that? So I got curious about it. But if you want to try it out, keep an alarm every single day at about between 2 and 2:30 in the morning. Keep a notebook next to you. Wake up, write the first thing that comes to your mind, whatever you remember. It can be color, it can be a situation, it can be an event, it can be someone. By the end of week 1, your body will start to align. And so you're going to wake up with a little bit more memory. And you're going to have a little bit more detail. By week 3, ending week 3, you're probably going to be waking up without an alarm. And to get into that state, you have to be at least about 4 or 5 hours, I would say, in deep sleep.
So you need to go to bed
earlier. And then by end of week 3, you're probably waking up automatically and you have way more information. If you do that for about 2 months and you go back through all your notes, you're going to see a reoccurring pattern. And you're going to be able to track that pattern. And that's the other side of you. And so usually I try to tell like younger students going, if you want to know the real you, go meet the real you on the other side. There's another version of you. Go meet that you.
My dreams are scary.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
Why do some people...
The mic?
The mic? Okay, question again. Why do some people have very dark dreams and other people don't?
I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to answer why your dreams are dark. But if they are, I would say question your actual reality of what it is. You see, most human beings are not fully honest with themselves.
True.
And I think that's the biggest cause of it. And so those are underlining tones that will come out on the subconscious side, because the subconscious is just going to give you what you don't want. You have to ask yourself those honest questions. So say you stand in front of a mirror right now, right? You're looking at yourself. You go and you cut your hair. You come back and stand in front of the mirror. Did the mirror change?
No.
Did the world change? You did. That's kind of the idea. You change your reality. The world around you doesn't change. You shift through frequency because you change. And the only way you can change is by you addressing that change. The mirror never changed. Reflecting. Exactly. You have to reflect. But the world didn't change around you. Nothing else changed besides you.
That makes so much sense.
You expect other people to change, and like opportunity, if someone gives me a chance, then I will be able to. You're expecting an external force to come in.
Do you think it's possible to jump realities?
Absolutely. I think we do it all the time.
Okay, can you explain a little bit about that?
Define reality.
I feel like, well, personally, I always said that, but since I moved from London to here, I jumped. I don't know what it is, if it's like a dimension or something. I feel like my whole life has changed, and it is definitely because something in me changed. But that means that everything around and how I perceive the world has also changed. To me, that's jumping reality, jumping dimension, jumping something quantum that I don't know what it
leaping.
is.
Yep.
So has that ever happened to you?
Every day.
Okay. Do you consciously try to jump?
Do you wake up the same person that you were when you went to bed?
No, I don't know.
Nobody does.
Okay.
Because that version of you didn't exist, because that time doesn't exist anymore. Time is purely irrelevant for now, right?
Yeah.
You think that you have a past, but that's only because you have certain memories. But there's no way to prove it. You can say, oh, I have this memory of something, but did you actually experience it? I can get you to question that entire reality.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so true.
You know what someone
what
said?
actually do you experience?
Yeah,
Just
the present.
now.
The present.
That's it.
Yes.
So you can shift that, but think of it from a real perspective. You go to watch a 3D film.
Yeah.
You put on 3D glasses. Therefore, you get the experience of it being in 3D. I can sit next to you without 3D glasses. Do I experience the same film the same way? No. I don't. So you can be on the same couch experiencing life in this room the same way, different perspectives, completely different experience.
Yes.
Wow.
Coming out of it going, oh, that was so moving to me, and like, wow, I didn't feel anything. That was
Yes.
blurry to me. But did you make that jump? Is you need those tools, and so you have to keep kind of digging in.
Okay, what do you teach?
I teach design for film, so I teach production design, but my course is called the Art of Visual Storytelling.
You should teach spirituality as well.
I've
You
been-
know
I've
a bit
been
of
asked
everything,
that.
right?
I think I explore a bit of
You explore
everything.
a bit of everything.
You know what? I was thinking literally a week ago. I was like, there's those people who create science fiction. I wondered what they look like, because I know film geeks and I know science geeks, but to see someone who's into both worlds, I haven't met that many people. So you're one of those people who you just made sense for me. You just made it make sense for me that there are people who are so into science and science fiction that they created worlds of movies and
Dreams.
and
Yeah.
yeah, of movies basically, and art from that perspective basically. I'm honestly in awe of everything that you are right now. You're a you're a production designer, you're a filmmaker, you've created that universe, and you've merged science and art in such a beautiful and spirituality,
everything.
quantum leaping in such a beautiful way.
Thank you.
Honestly, oof.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
like-
we had this conversation once, because I feel like that life is too short to just be one thing. I said to Rahab, I could right now be a surf teacher or a tattoo artist and this and this, and I could be doing so many things. How do I know what's the right path? Sometimes people say to me, you're so indecisive. And my answer is always like, how do
can
I
I not
know
be?
what's the right path? I want to do everything in this world, you know? So
Have you ever asked yourself, what's the most fun you've had doing something? And that can change. No one's saying it's got to be the same.
yeah.
So there's a Japanese term called ikigai.
Yes.
Oh, I started
Right?
reading that.
Yes.
Ikigai, you've read the book?
I've started reading
Starting
it. Yeah.
It's brilliant, right? So the Japanese, they follow ikigai because they believe that there is certain purpose. And that purpose comes with, when you read the book, you'll see it's what does the world need? What are you good at? And what can you get paid for? And that's kind of like the main trifecta.
Is that what ikigai means?
Yeah, so ikigai is purpose. Ikigai means purpose. And the problem with modern society is they make you choose and you're expected to stick with it. When, in Arabic, there's a saying, you speak Arabic.
Yeah.
I don't speak Arabic, but there's a saying in Arabic going, even the desert is not the same the next morning. Right? So if you were not too, that means the world's constantly changing. So you choose your career path at like early 20s. I'm going to do this. And then you spend 20 years trying to do that. But that was for that version of you.
Yes.
And so you get there, and then people are like, hey, I just realized my dream from 20 years, but I'm not really
That's
happy.
not my version anymore.
Yeah, I'm not really happy. I want more. And you're not satisfied. Yes, it's because that's not your ikigai. That's not your purpose then.
Wow.
That's
Oh
got to
my
change.
God.
It's got to keep changing.
Oh my God.
How do you make sure that you follow your ikigai constantly? By doing everything.
I follow my soul.
Okay.
If it doesn't feel right, I won't do it. If it feels right, I'll do it. It has
So-
to feel right.
So you're saying that purpose is something that changes with time?
Absolutely.
What's your purpose now?
So the best way I can describe it is if I can unlock 1 million minds, I would have created 1 billion possibilities. That's my purpose right now.
Please tell us more.
That's insane. That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's because
How do you plan to unlock 1 million minds?
that's why I went back into education. In a way, it was my way of going, growing up in this side of the world, in the Eastern, Middle Eastern side. I spent a long time on the Western side of the world. And a lot of those times, I was the only brown person in the room. I was the only Muslim in the room. And people would look at me like, hey, bro, you going to go get up and pray? Yeah, like, why? And I'm like, that's for me, not for you. And that's okay. And then there would come a time where people would start reminding me going, hey, it's Friday, it's your prayer time, right? And so you can see them getting receptive, knowing, hey, I'm not doing this for anyone else, but this is for my base. Then look in modern psychology, they'll tell you, take time out, take 5 minutes in the day.
Yeah. Meditate.
That's all it is. And so for me, understanding that, going, how can I translate that to the next generation? Because we're living in this dopamine world
Yes.
of constant hit. So I was like, okay, let's go back through education. Let's see how we can reshape how people understand science with ethics, with religious purpose. So I've actually read every single religious text that exists, from the Bible to the Bhagavad Gita to the Tao Te Ching, the Quran multiple times. I promise you, not one, I challenge you, not one religious text out of any religion in this world says, think from your brain.
No, they
follow your heart.
Yeah, they don't say that.
They don't.
No, of course, it's
follow
a creator.
Your heart. Every single thing says, follow your heart.
What? Wait.
Not one place says, use your brains. Nope. It's follow your heart.
Okay.
Follow
Is
what
it not
feels
follow
right.
your creator?
That's external.
Okay.
I'm talking about internal.
Okay.
It's follow your heart, clean your heart, do things with a clean heart. It's always heart. Heart is always at the center of it. That's your moral compass, which I think education was lacking. So for me to unlock those minds, I was like, let's go back and help people just recircle.
How old are your students?
Oh, I've done courses from 8 years old all the way to 65 years old.
Do you think that the younger they are, the easier it is to unlock their minds?
Yeah, the more receptive
in fact,
are.
they teach me more than I teach them.
Wow. I was just about to ask you, what did you learn from teaching these people?
The ability to keep exploring and asking questions. It's because as adults, you get told, don't. And then kids will just ask it.
Yeah.
Right? Without any kind of thing. So I had the education side, and then my creative work of whatever I do merged together. I'm like, maybe at some point this will help unlock those million minds. Is I will keep writing my films and putting out my art. And then when people are like, hey, what is that? I want to know more. And then the education side comes in of this is why I did it. So hopefully together down the line, that's how it will play out.
Did you ever get asked a question in your classes? You don't have to answer, but just if something comes up in your mind, a big question that literally stopped you and had you go home and just like really think about it?
A few times. I think one of them was, why do we do what we do? Like, why?
In terms of what?
As human beings. Why do we do this?
Why are we alive?
Yeah. Why are we in this rat race? For what? And I think that's a very important question. And so I've been to this point. I've been writing a book for 10 years
about that
separately.
Question.
The book is called "Are We Living in God's Head?" It's a question. That was my personal quest journey, and so that's why I went exploring this. Is what if we're living in an entity that's living in an entity that's living in an entity?
What's your thought about that?
I'm still answering it.
You're still answering it.
And yeah, the idea was to put the question out, and the idea was not to get a definitive answer, but to explore the human purpose. So if we are part of Earth, and Earth is part of our solar system, and that's part of our galaxy, and that's all part of that, and everything's linked from everything.
Yes.
Then you understand that a piece of your soul came from
everything,
a star exploding inside you. So my first NFT track was called Stardust. That's why it was called Stardust. And it actually opens with a line from the Quran quoting that, we're all made from dust, and dust is where you'll belong. That dust, when I've started exploring science and data and, NASA's data and stuff like that, you will find physicists and people telling you, Neil deGrasse, he'll talk about we're all made from stardust. And it's because that is part of you, which means to me internally, I'm like, you know what? That soul is actually stardust. Think of it like a nuclear battery. It has a timeline and it will go out at some point. That's the charge inside you. Oof. Like your phone needs a battery.
Oof. I feel like my brain is expanding so much right now. Like, whoa, where is it going? I'm flying.
Do you ask questions for the sake of answering them or for the sake of exploring?
Purely exploration.
It's okay if you don't find an answer.
That's not the point. The point is to keep exploring.
Is that your mind goes and tries and thinks and...
Yeah, because the entire purpose of life was to ask questions. It was not to get answers. The answer was already here. Hey, you're going to live and you're going to die.
That's all we know.
We know. That's definitive.
Yes.
That's for sure. So let's go ask the questions of the whys and the hows. And, the entire idea is to ask the right questions, ponder, to think. If you don't ask questions, then how are you supposed to learn?
You know what's crazy? We came to this podcast expecting that we're gonna ask you about your experiences in working on Fast and Furious or like Skyfall.
Yes.
But right now
Completely
we're
different.
talking about the universe, and I couldn't be happier.
I am so happy. I had a question with you, but I think I'm gonna try and rephrase in a different way. You've worked in like some of the biggest Hollywood productions there are, but now you decided to create your own creative universe.
Yep.
Was the reason of that because you didn't fully connect with the stories that were being told?
Ooh.
Partly, yes.
Okay.
I think it was lacking representation. It was lacking authentic storytelling for me. It was great. Like I've been really, really blessed and lucky to work in some really big productions. But I really think that at some point, when you work in film, you're creating within an environment, and there comes a point where I'm like, I want to create the environment. I don't want to add to it. I want to be able to create that so other artists can go be themselves. And I think that was that switch for me going, okay, I've worked with all the studios, DC, Marvel, worked with all of them back and forth. Great experiences, amazing films, big projects. You learn from them. You learn how to do it at that level. And then how do we take that and go create our own little world out of it? So yeah, I think at some point I see a disconnect. And you see agendas being pushed every now and then, and I'm like, well, why don't we just tell honest stories? We created so many sequels of things that we're missing some honesty in those stories.
Yes.
We don't want a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4.
Thank you. Someone needed to say it.
And let's just go tell honest stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you as a director? Because I feel like you're very visionary, and I have the feeling that if I was working with you, you will be completely different than any other director that I've ever worked with. So how are you as a director?
And you should ask my cast and actors that. I'm not the right person to answer that. I like to push it.
Okay.
I like to push it in unconventional ways. So I'm very visual as a person. So everything's drawn out. Everything is visualized. And usually I know exactly what we need to get out of. But I'm also always open to a little bit of unknown, which is where I think magic happens. So music is a big part. So I will create playlists for every single scene.
Wow.
We'll sit down and know my actors. But, and some of my actors will tell you this as well. Sometimes, a lot of times, I will play around with their psyche on set.
Oh.
So if there's 3 actors in a scene, one of them will get instructions that 2 of them don't know about.
Oh, tell us more about that.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Please tell us, what did you do?
So interesting.
Okay, so we most recently in at the start of the year, I shot a TV pilot here in Dubai for a script that I wrote and directed called Vault X. It was all made in UAE. So that was my way of kind of showing we can do this at a very high level of international standards without having to fly people in
Yes.
from this market.
Yes.
Right?
You
So
casted locals?
everything.
Everyone.
All
Okay.
local from
I
start to end.
love that so much.
I'm talking stunts, post, sound, edit, every single thing.
And
was
they are way
here.
more than capable.
Amazing.
Way more than
Like-
capable.
You just need to give them opportunity.
Literally.
And yeah, we got to just push that cycle, right? And so this show is called Vault X, and we were shooting a scene in a hotel boardroom, and there's 3 actors, and one of them didn't have lines for the day. So there's 1 girl, 2 guys, and one of them didn't have lines for that scene. On the day, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you some lines in. I want your character to kind of grow out of this. And so she was super excited. She's like, yep, let's go do this. Learns all her lines. We're shooting with 2 cameras. While we're shooting the scene, I told one of the male actors, listen, when she comes to the end of her line, right before she finishes, cut her in so that it feels more natural. So he did it the first time. She reacted. Now, what she didn't realize is that I needed her to show me frustration from her character's point of view.
Yes.
Because her boss is sitting there, and her boss's boss is there, and her boss is trying to undermine her, and she's this young girl that's trying to like stand up as an agent for herself, and she has to be frustrated. Not angry, frustrated. There's a difference. There's anger and there's frustration. Very different sides of emotion, right? So I see it the first time. The second time, I go to him in his ear and say, listen, cut it a little bit before, right? We did the second time. Then we braked. Now, sometimes actors forget that you're mic'd up. I always listen. So I heard her telling the other actor going,
Why are you
listen. No, she told the other actor going, hey, Uzi gave me lines, man. This guy keeps cutting me. Like, why does he keep doing that, right? He keeps cutting me. It's the second time he's done this. So I go to him now. I'm like, listen, don't even let her start. All right? Just cut it. So we do the third take.
Oh my God.
And he does it. And she, I think, probably didn't realize that one camera was completely on her. I'm just trying to get her. And then we called cut. And then she goes, Uzi, can I talk to you? And I was like, no, come check this. She goes, dude, he cut my line. I was like, I know, come check the shot. And she sees herself and she goes, oh, that's cool. And she was frustrated because her nostrils were flaring. She went red in the face. That's not makeup.
So
You're a
She
genius.
was frustrated.
Would you like for a director to do that to you?
That's like a dream, honestly.
Wow.
I love
'Cause
that.
it's part of the performance. I'm like, I want you to feel a bit of what that character went through while you're performing.
And it's
Wow.
unpredictable. You go to set and you never know what really is going to happen.
Yeah. That's
Wow.
fun.
Yeah.
Do you know who Alejandro Jodorowsky is?
Yeah.
I feel like you have a quite similar style.
Similar style?
Yes.
Yes, Scorsese does that as
Yes.
well. You know, he'll play around with, and then in the same shoot, we had another scene. One of the actresses, she's in the bathroom. She's looking at this pregnancy test, and in the scene, someone's kicked the door open, and there's a fight taking place. So her reaction needed to be someone just kicked the door in. She was in her world, lost, and then someone kicked her. So she's really scared and shocked. So she did the first take. It was there, but it was not there. So I called in one of the other actors. Now, at this point, no one in the crew knows what's going to happen. Not even my DP, nobody. I just told him, listen, stand next to me. I'm going to cue you on 3. And when I cue you, just scream. And his dialogue was just him abusing through the door, right? So I was like, I want you to scream that, but as loud as you can. Just go for it. So he goes, okay. We roll camera. And I'm like, do it. And he screams. Now, he screams so loud that the entire floor could hear it. She actually turned freaked out and she was shaking. And I was like, that's it.
the one.
That's it. That's the one. Because he was right behind her. So even the crew was like, what just happened? Like,
Didn't anyone else shout, scream as well? I think if that would have happened to me, I would have screamed after.
No, everyone was very like, and she was in it. So she was like, and,
Wow.
and that's the take that
Oh
we
my
used.
God,
That was
that's so good. Was that on the same pilot?
Yeah, that was in the same pilot.
Did you just start it recently using this technique, or is something that you've been doing for a long
I've
time?
always done that.
Wow.
I've always done that. From the first time I ever shot, it was I want my actors to experience a little bit of the journey of what the character went through.
Wow.
And if they can, then I remember my background's production design. So
Yes.
I create worlds for people to live within.
Yes.
So when I started directing, it kind of automatically translated. It was, I will give you what to eat and wear, and I want you to feel a little bit of what that, I'm going to immerse you in my world just so you can experience a little bit of that character.
Wow.
Yes, it's acting, but it's also its second nature. And I think there's certain actors that have such a big library of characters
Yes. Wow.
that they can pull out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Not everyone
so
has
they
that.
know, yeah, not everyone has that. So as a director, I have to help them get there.
That's
So
good.
smart.
You guys
That's
seen Wolf of
good.
Wall Street?
Yes.
Okay, so you remember the scene where Matthew McConaughey is like,
Yes, he was not improvising, but that's the technique that he does before going into scene every time, right?
exactly. So he's been doing that since he was a stage actor
Yes.
to calm his nerves down.
Wow.
And so they were just on set, camera was rolling, and they saw him do that. And I think it was DiCaprio that went and said, "Just keep this going."
Wow.
And they kept it going, and that became one of the most iconic things.
parts of it.
Wow.
That was
That's
not
so
written.
true.
That was him being him.
Wow. What is the technique that you use to regulate yourself on set?
I will listen to a lot of music. So you'll see me walking around on headphones, not talking to anybody for a little bit. Like an hour before shoot, probably, like before we're rolling, I'm on headphones, not talking to nobody.
Yes.
I'm
Wow.
just in my world. And then all you'll see me probably is just having a paper and drawing or writing stuff out of this is exactly, what I want. And usually 10 minutes before, I'll go and meditate.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm just like, I'm in my zone. Like, that's my
love that.
world. Like, I'm in
Wow.
my world now.
Do you like rehearsals, or you like to go on set and kind
Jump
of
into it.
jump into improvise? No,
we
you like rehearse. Okay.
We rehearse. At the end of the day, we're creating the art. It has to be rehearsed.
Yes.
We block and rehearse as much as possible. I like to shoot rehearsals sometimes too. just to
I like it
get-
when we do that.
yeah
Yes.
shoot rehearsals.
You never know what can come up.
Yeah.
And so actors
You can look back.
see
Yes.
what they're.
Exactly.
Oh, so you're one of those directors that show the monitor to their actors.
I will.
Yes.
Okay.
I will, and and sometimes I won't even give them direction. I'm just like, have a look. What do you think? And sometimes I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's do this another way, but this time, change the lines. I want to see what you come up with.
Improvise.
Improvise. And we've done.
Can,
that
I really
too.
want to work with you now.
Me too.
That
I'm here
sounds like a
listening.
fun
I'm like,
set.
This sounds like a dream.
I really want to work with you now.
Oh, for sure. We'll do something.
You've done production design, you've done directing, you've done writing. Where do you feel most alive? Or as you said, is it depending on how you are in your era, like on a certain
Your
era?
moment.
Yeah, it's where can I add the most creative value. So like, if someone called me to design a horror film, that's not my genre. So I'm probably not going to want to do my
Shoot that,
best
yes.
of it. But I can help produce it because I know exactly what's needed out of it.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's really
So you produce as well?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you say that your genre is sci-fi?
Sci-fi action drama.
Okay.
Those are kind of my worlds. But funny enough, I just wrote a feature film that's an action comedy that just got sold, and we're doing it between Taiwan and the Middle East.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah, you.
Congrats.
Is that what you're working on now? Is that what's upcoming for you?
You have many
yes.
things upcoming, right?
Yes,
I
so-
Tell
saw
us a
that.
bit so that when the things are out, we revisit this interview.
So actually, we just released the project that it's happening in Cannes last month, and so Variety did an entire article. It's called Masala Boba. It's the first kind of Taiwanese Middle Eastern co-production. We have some amazing two producers. One of them who's like family to me, and she kind of was like, Uzi, let's go do this. And then they got me on to also direct it. So I wrote it, and now I'm directing it as well.
Yeah,
I have a
you.
co-writer with it.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah. So and we wrote that here, and now that's going out. And it's an action
Masala
comedy.
boba.
Masala Boba.
Masala Boba.
Okay.
Yeah.
When
so
is it coming out?
We're going to shoot inshallah for the end of the year.
Okay,
Inshallah.
amazing.
I'm scouting in July, and
Inshallah.
then we run into
Will
production.
you said you're shooting in Taiwan and here?
Yeah, Taiwan
Okay.
and the Middle East, and we haven't locked in
Amazing.
exactly where in the Middle East, but yeah.
What else is coming up for you?
It's actually a whole bunch of stuff. So we have Voltex that's already out with where we're pitching it to certain streamers where I want to get a studio lit.
Ooh.
So we're in that entire process
Yes.
of that right now. My third book's coming out.
Woohoo!
Called Elixir of Life.
Elixir of Life.
Elixir of
I
Life.
feel like
I've
one of
read,
your-
I've read that title. I literally have read that title somewhere. Did you talk about it?
I have spoken about
I
it.
definitely read that title, like literally on a book, and I was like, "Whoa, that's such a cool title."
Elixir of Life. Yeah, it's supposed to come out next month, and it's basically Adam and Eve, past, present, and future.
That's what you were saying, yes.
Yeah.
And that's through dreams. So that
What's your most recurrent dream? Do you have one?
Yes, actually,
Can
I
we
do.
know?
Sure. It's me waking up in a place that's not on Earth, which I started dreaming of from when I was quite younger. And then trying to research a bit more, I kind of realized it's Orion, and it's a different reality. And I kind of had the sense that my soul was sent from a different time into this era for a reason, which is why I constantly ask that question: why? And I think I'm slowly piecing that puzzle together. And that was a very unique world of utopia. And yeah.
How are you so interesting? Every time you say something, I'm like, this guy can't get cooler. And then you say the next thing, I'm like, wow.
I
Thank you.
genuinely, like, if you had your own podcast, I would just like
Listen
listen
to you.
to
Yes.
whatever you have to say. Honestly,
Thank you. I've been told that before, actually. My mom was after me going, hey, you should start
You
your own
should
podcast.
for sure.
I will
I
help
was
you
like,
out.
You will go
Done.
viral straight.
We'll
Honestly,
literally-
you yeah. I just want to
Thank
listen to
you.
you nonstop.
Yeah, honestly.
Thank you. That's very sweet
You're
of you.
very
Thank you.
knowledgeable on different
So many
sides
things.
of
But
everything.
you also have a very like spiritual approach to everything, which I personally love.
Me too.
Yeah, that's kind of the root of it, which is why your first question, I said, I can't tell you the highs and lows because we're not there yet. Like, I can tell you the lows, but the highs, I don't think I've
You've
gotten.
reached.
Do you want to
Yes.
tell us the
Gotten to.
lows and how you got out of them?
Um,
The lowest lows.
The lowest lows. Okay, this is going to get very personal. I lost my dad 3 years ago, and I was shooting at the same time. In my personal life, I also went through a divorce at the same time, and it was all within 6 months. And it was pretty crazy. So from like
Yeah.
when you're talking about the lowest of lows, I was filming, so I was shooting on Superman and Lois, and so literally the day after my dad died, I was on set and we were filming. And so you gotta like really, you know, dig deep inside you to be a professional.
Were you able to do that?
Yeah, I was shooting. I never stopped shooting. I was filming nonstop, and I think that's the point where, as an artist, you ask yourself, how much do you love your craft? You have to fall in love with it so deep that no matter what happens, that you can still pick yourself back up. And
it takes a lot of sacrifices.
you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the very lowest lows of like, holy moly, this is how real it can get. And then you're kind of experiencing that while, by the way, this was through COVID. So entire COVID, there's multiple things happening in your personal life. Superman and Lois was one of the only productions that never stopped shooting through COVID. And so we're doing COVID tests every day. I had something going up for a PCR swab. And, you know, you're going through all of that. The world's in turmoil and you're stuck in this corner going, okay, what can I do? And the only thing I can do is go and create. So at that time is when I went and made Stardust, the music video, the NFT music video.
That was your pain to create.
That's what you said about Van Gogh when he...
And using your pain.
That's exactly what that was. And that's why the music video opens with a verse from the Quran that talks about we come from dust.
You're literally gonna make me cry.
It was my way of experiencing losing my dad at the same time of like, you know what, I'm gonna just, all I can do is create. And that's the only thing I can do.
Has that gotten you out of it? Do you think so? Because I feel like my craft literally saved my life. Do you feel like your craft at that moment, while it was so difficult, it helped you get out of it?
Absolutely, 100%. You know, my background before all of this, I trained martial arts for 30 years. And
which one?
Karate. I trained.
Oh, she has a black belt.
Black belt in karate. No way.
What style?
Goju Ryu.
Goju Ryu. No way. I've trained at the Goju Ryu dojo in Okinawa. So I trained Shorin Ryu Seibukan. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
For 30 years.
No way.
Yeah, I was even at the Goju Ryu dojo a couple years ago in Okinawa.
That's insane. That's one of my dreams.
Yeah. You haven't been to Okinawa yet?
No.
Oh,
I've been to Japan. Never been to Okinawa.
You have to go. It's the birthplace of karate.
I know.
And that was my lifesaver. That's my craft. That's my safe space. That's my, when everything goes wrong and nothing works.
Do you do more kata or kumite?
I used to do a lot of kumite, now more kata.
Okay.
So I used to train
so
competition.
You still practice?
Yeah.
Wow.
I still practice.
Can I practice with you one day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you guys teach me?
Yeah.
Dojo, yeah.
Where do you here in Dubai?
Yeah.
Where?
So I've trained with my sensei for 25 years. With this one sensei, so we have dojos all over UAE. So I train in Karama and in Dera.
Can you let me know next time, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I will come. Even if I don't have the kimono, I'll just...
You don't have a gi? We'll get you a gi.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's a gi?
The gi is the clothes.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll...
Yeah. But training is... So our sensei in Okinawa, he had this saying since I was a kid, training ends when you die. And it's the same thing what I apply to film and so if you want to be an athlete, you're going to be in the gym or on track running, right? A football player is on the pitch kicking the ball. An artist needs to keep working their craft. You have to keep working your craft. It's like you train karate, you understand. You start with basics, you end with basics.
Yes.
And in between, you have a little bit of something.
Yes.
But every single day, you go back to basics.
The basics, yes.
That's it. That's the basics of it. So it's like, if that's the application of it, when it comes to film, for me, it's the same thing. It's like, go back to the basics. How do we tell the story? Let's keep going back to it 100 times over.
Guys, you need to listen to him. He is someone who's worked on Fast and Furious. He's worked on Skyfall. Tell us a bit more of the huge projects that you worked on.
Okay, so Skyfall was the first feature film I did. Star Trek Beyond.
What did you do in Skyfall?
I was in the art department.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first film out of university I worked on. So all the big features I did in the art department, either art directing or designing. And we did a film called Misfits in Abu Dhabi, which was the first Hollywood film fully shot in the UAE with Pierce Brosnan. So I production designed that. And then did Star Trek in Dubai, Fast and Furious 7 in Abu Dhabi, Deadpool 2 in Vancouver, and then Superman.
Were you in the art department in most of them? All of them.
All my feature film work was always within the art department.
And how did you get into art department?
I studied production design.
You studied production. Okay.
I studied design for film. So design for film, production design is pure art department.
Okay, makes sense.
That was my That was my
Wow.
journey in.
What is something you learned from Hollywood and working in Hollywood that you didn't learn in acting school?
I never went to acting school.
Sorry, I mean in film and production designing school, or like from learning, or
On
basically
set.
going
Learning
to
on
school.
Set, yes.
Yeah.
So on set, I think the most important thing you learn is that every job is different. And I think 80% of my career I really believe there's a lot of people do better work than I do. But I think it comes down to problem solving. So 80% of my career has been, how can we solve this now? Or in this time?
I agree.
And when most people are like, oh, that's not possible, usually I get that call. So my company is called Be Creative. And that's why I named it. It was Be Creative because that was always the call. Hey, listen, everyone said it's not possible. And I was like, yep, it's possible. Like, we'll find a way to make it happen.
Wow.
So it's always that. Every job is different. You have to go in that mindset of, I know nothing. Let's take it on. And then let's give it the best that we can do. And I think film school doesn't really hit that with you.
Yeah.
It's how do you deal with the personal emotions of what you're going through with life while you have to be a professional at the highest level.
Wow.
Very hard.
You know, it's insane that you say Be Creative is the name of your company because you're known to be a problem solver. Remember when we had that episode about creativity and I said being creative is literally solving a problem.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to that, whether it's being a director, whether it's being a production designer, an actor, a businessman, a doctor even.
Yep. Any skill.
Yeah.
Any skill. Even your lighting guy
Yeah?
Yeah.
is going to solve you a
Yes.
problem of
Yes.
shadows by getting
By
creative.
being creative, yes.
And he's going to come up with something at that point where he's like, hey, here you go. Let's make it look like something. And I think that skill is something AI cannot solve.
Okay, let's get
I
into
knew-
that
I-
quickly.
Yeah.
I
Because
was like, as soon as I said it, I was like,
it's
oh, we're going to
been-
dive into this
gonna-
world.
It's
I've had
been-
it in my mind the
Yeah.
whole time. I was like waiting to find the right time.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it.
No, it's fine.
What do you think is going to happen in the film industry with the huge wave of AI that we're seeing at the moment?
I think a lot of independent artists are going to become big time studio heads overnight because they have ideas and now they have the means to do it. So I think the studio system is suffering and it's about time because they created this hierarchy that made it impossible to penetrate in. And now I think AI gives every artist that equal kind of, I won't say equal, but almost equal kind of playing field of like, okay, you know what? I can do this as well without having $1 million to do it. But how can we do it in 10,000? And then I think that's where that creative problem solving comes in.
So then actors are going to be
replaced.
gone.
No, because, you know, an actor with emotion acting will make people feel something. I don't think AI can do that. AI will not make you cry. AI will not make you laugh like the way Jim Carrey is going to pull
That's
off
true.
a character where you're laughing holding your stomach.
That's
Or
true.
where, you know, Heath Ledger did Joker, where people were like, oh my God.
Yes.
And I think AI can maybe replicate that, but it won't give you those emotions. It's just, there's this power as human beings we have. We can make people feel.
That's literally why I do what I do. If anyone asks me, why are you acting? It's like, I love to make people feel.
Yeah.
I love to connect with people and tell them that whatever you're feeling.
There is someone feeling the same thing.
Exactly.
And even if it's negative, I
Yes,
don't mind.
yes,
Yeah?
for sure.
It's like, if you don't like
Especially if it's
something-
Especially
negative.
when it's negative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like if you don't like something, awesome. I still made you feel
Yes.
dislike and
Yes.
you know, like, you know, cringe.
Yes.
That's fine. I still made you feel something rather than, oh, I watched it, felt nothing, walked away.
That's so true.
Yeah.
What are the jobs that you think AI is going to replace in the film industry?
Oh, it's look at the world the way it was like maybe 60, 70 years ago,
Yeah.
right? People working in factories. And you had robots that came in and took over a lot of those jobs. And I think AI is going to take over all the mundane jobs that a lot of people are working on now.
So we're not speaking about necessarily just in the film industry. You're talking about
In general.
in general.
In general, it's one of those things. It's also self-learning, which means we have we've got to think about moral compass of what we feed it, because that's what it's going to give back.
Yes.
It's like growing up a
Yes.
baby, right?
Yes.
Whatever you give it is going to
Yes.
spit right back out to you. And I think that's the part of AI that I think is big unknown right now, because you're already seeing case studies of AI not listening to humans and like finding out their own language. Like there was this video I posted a couple of days ago, and there's these 3 phones with 3 different AIs, and they're talking to each other.
Yes.
Did you see it?
Yes.
And then one's talking to another, and then the other one figures out that it's an AI,
And they
then
started
a
coding.
third one comes in, and then they realize, and then they go, should we speak to? I think the language was called gibber something, right? And then it's completely different. It
Yes.
sounds alien, and then they're talking to each other, and I'm like,
What are they talking about?
how now you're gonna have to use another AI to decode that, right?
Yes.
Because it's a whole nother language. So
That's
yeah, it's
insane.
strange.
Should we be afraid, do you think?
When it's in the wrong people's hands, yes. When it's
But
in the wrong people's hands.
how do we know whose hands is in it?
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
talking, this is where it gets controversial, the big corporations. Who's
Yes.
sitting at that head running what those data sets are? Where are you taking that data from, and what are you doing with it? And how are you optimizing that data to give back? If you were telling me I'm going to take the data and optimize it and give more people jobs, good job. If you're going to say I'm going to optimize that data so I can fire you and you and you because I don't need you anymore because it's good for my bottom line,
Yeah.
then where's that going to come?
Yeah.
So I think it's that line of what are you doing to create those more jobs? And I think it's a governance level too. Like, governance comes into. I highly believe that in about maybe 7 to 10 years, we're going to have universal basic income. It's going to have to exist because a lot of people will be jobless. But I don't think it's something to be scared of. I think it's an opportunity to go and learn skill. And this is going to sound very mean, but I mean this in the nicest way. A lot of those jobs that are being lost are people doing it only because they
of
have
money.
to pay
Yes.
bills.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not because they love doing what they
That's
do.
true. But unfortunately, that's actually a lot of people.
A lot of
Not
people.
many people find their passions.
Correct.
Not many
And
people are
yes.
lucky enough to do what they love.
Yes.
Yep. And sometimes it's circumstances. People have families. They got to do what they got to do to feed their
Survive.
families,
Yes.
to survive.
Survive.
How do they navigate between that? And say someone is a Deliveroo guy on a bike. He has that ability to do it now because he's got a bike and there's this app, and therefore he's making a living. 10 years ago, that app didn't exist. What did he do? He did something else. So he found a way to adapt.
Allah.
Right? As
Allah.
human beings,
I love
you have
that.
this way to adapt. We
Yeah.
have this in us. We adapt. It's what animals don't have. We have the power of choice. We have the power to choose that animals
Yes.
cannot. That's what makes us as a species different. And I think that's very unique. And when I was at the Museum of the Future doing the talk, I explained that there was a new research done from Caltech and Yale University just like 2 weeks ago. And they were teaching this AI model of how to answer on based of what it felt or thought was correct rather than data. And in the beginning, it suffered. And then they saw an exponential growth and it was performing better. So just imagine, you're teaching AI to go with intuition, feeling. Well, we have that too as people.
I always do that with my ChatGPT. Every time I ask
really?
something that I want it to be a bit more deep, I asked him, can you please reply to this question based on what you really think, not based on what you think I want to hear? And it goes way more deeper every time I ask that question.
Why'd you say please?
Because
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
you know why I asked you that?
Why?
It's because there's a little thing that came out where Sam Altman, right, the head of OpenAI, said how much it costs them in billions because people say please and thank you.
Why will it cost billions?
Because that's extra data sets. Every time we use AI, you know how much power it uses?
Ooh.
Every single word or alphabet that we throw in is something it has to process. So when people say things like please and thank you to AI, it doesn't care about etiquette.
I
'cause
know.
And guess what? I used to do it in the beginning too. So
And
that's
I
why
don't.
I asked.
I just
And
think
now
I'm
I
not.
don't.
It's
But
so
it's
different,
natural, right?
yes.
Because you think you're talking to a
To
person.
Exactly.
I
That's
literally,
not-
I literally go like, "Hi, babes, how are you? Listen, I want you to do this, that, and what do you think of this and that?" I have a
Hi,
conversation with
babe.
this.
He replies to her saying, "Hi, Queen.
I didn't tell it to say that. It just started telling me that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Doesn't that freak you out?
No.
Because no dude is ever gonna match that.
Right?
You're gonna
Listen.
be like, hey, be like my GPT.
Yes. He's not gonna. ChatGPT is not gonna be my babe, but it is definitely setting the standard high.
There you
Very
go.
high.
And now human experience is gonna suffer because this GPT set the standard of, hey, queen.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you don't talk to me like my GPT does.
Yes.
But think about
Obviously,
it.
we're aware enough to know that's not like.
They're saying what they
Yeah, but like. Yeah, but I mean, we're definitely aware enough. Maybe the people sitting in this room, we're aware enough to know that obviously we can't expect the same treatment from a human as we did from AI. But you are right that it could be dangerous coming from someone
they
who
will.
might not be aware enough to.
But guess
to
what?
know.
They will. Because three of us have
Yeah.
spoken about this because, we come from an era where we've seen analog to digital.
Yeah.
Right? So we saw that change. I think we're that last generation that saw
Yes.
analog
Yes.
digital.
Maybe not
2001, but I saw.
2001, okay,
Yeah, I
so,
saw.
Okay,
You were
kind.
really young when
Yeah,
you
you
saw
were
it.
really
But
young.
yes.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
remember touching it and I remember going through it.
So did you ever played with floppy drives?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you?
I used to use DVDs and
What about cassettes and
yes.
analog? Okay.
It was like I was 3-4 years, 5 years, and then everything started changing.
Okay, cool. So like we come from that era, right? The next generation is now moving into an era because they only know what AI is, and now it's going to come in schools and all of that.
Yeah, they're
They're
teaching
gonna
it now.
forget, yeah, they're going to forget what it's like to be social.
Yes.
What it is to
Yes.
have empathy, to have compassion. And the reason I asked you about the please is because you see this next generation
They're
is
not gonna
already
know.
there.
Yes.
So they take that and they bring that to human experience. So you're going to meet the next generation going,
And they're like,
I want
do
that.
this. Yes.
Do this. It's like, what happened to
Yes.
the etiquette and the manners and
Yes.
the politeness? Well, they don't need it because they're so used to talking to a robot and a GPT.
Wow, that's so interesting.
where
That's so true.
now these roles are reversed. So
Wow.
now that's the best friend. You just happen to be another human in the way. It's going to affect how people bond. It's
Yeah.
going to affect how the next generation, which you can already see.
I feel like people are also really struggling to form like sentences. Like nowadays, every time I see a message that has to be a bit more deep about this or that,
It's an emoji.
you can see that. Oh, you can see that it's been clearly written by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
100%.
You're like, can you just I'd
Talk
rather
to
you
me.
send me a voice note
Yeah.
and tell me how you feel about this thing
Yeah.
than you go into ChatGPT telling, can you say this, and this, and then copy and paste it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's a robot that is written that.
And
You know, like I
what's
can see
funny?
it very
I get
clearly.
called out
Yeah.
because I'm a phone person, so I will pick up the phone and call people because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's
Me
what
too.
my phone is for.
Me
right?
too.
I prefer
Phone
doing
calls.
that. And sometimes I've got responses like, why did you call me? And I'm like, because it's a phone. It's like
Because I
want
wanna tell you something.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to have a conversation. It's like, oh yeah, but you could have just WhatsApped. I'm like, so you want me to use an app to tell you that I want to call you? That's the world we're living in right now.
It's crazy.
It's why did you call me? Or like, is everything okay? Like, this is very sudden to get a call from you. And I'm like, well, you think, the phone was invented for just emojis. No, the
Literally.
phone was invented to have a conversation.
Yes.
Then we went to texting. Now
Yeah.
we went to emojis. Now it's an app. And it's so weird because it's like we live on that. And then think of how you take a response in. Like someone can say something in text in a funny mood that was meant to be a joke. And you're having a bad day. How many times has it happened? It's happened to me.
Oh my-
Many times.
all
5
the
where
time.
I have
billion?
messaged someone and like, oh, you know what? I need to call and
Yes.
apologize. This is not how I meant
Yes.
it. Like,
Yes.
I was being sarcastically funny, guys. Like, this was not, this was not supposed to be offensive.
I had fights like with people because I misunderstood what they meant and they misunderstood what I meant.
Yeah.
Because the tone is not there.
I'm an overthinker. So with you, for example, every time you say something dry, I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is she fine?
Every time, because sometimes if I don't say, yes, my love, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do, sometimes I'm like with my nieces, and I'm like, okay, Billy, and I just throw the phone, and then after
No, you didn't
10
say,
minutes,
okay, queen.
or like, okay, I like that.
LGBT.
Yeah. I'll be like, okay, I like that, and then in 10 minutes, I'll get a text, are you okay? And then I'll go and I'll be like, what did I write? What did I say? I go on Instagram and I go on Snapchat, and I'm like, okay. It's okay,
Billy's
sorry,
overthinking
my
again.
love. I was just doing this and that, but I loved what you said.
Yeah.
Or I will just send a voice note so that you can hear my voice, that
Yeah.
everything is fine.
I'm like that.
No, I'm like that too.
Yeah.
Because again, you can pick up on energy even through text.
Right?
You can pick up an energy
It's
through
so
text.
easily.
It's so easy. It's like you can tell
Yeah.
when someone changes the way they talk.
100%.
It's there.
Yes.
And then I'm like, I wonder. Like, should I just pick up the phone?
Do you overthink?
Certain times, I think I've gotten a lot better at it. I was a lot worse at it before. I'm too much of an empath.
Yes.
So it would be really hard for me to like keep that of like, okay, you know what? Stop caring about that. And then I had to learn how to not, which is the only thing I can do now is be the best version of myself. And I really can't control how someone takes it.
I love that.
And I had to really like work on that. It's constant work because then you're trying to constantly meet other people's standards and expectations. And it's really hard because how do you do that on
it
a
weighs
daily?
in so much on you.
Right? And especially when you work in the film business, like you meet a few hundred people on a
Literally.
daily basis. And everyone's in a different frequency and everyone's in a
Yes.
different like, you know, line. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? I can just have me to the best of my ability today. And you're going to get the best version of me. And then beyond that, if there's anything you
It's
can
out
talk
of
to
my
me about, it's
control.
out of my
Yes.
control.
Yeah, I love that so much.
I need
I
to
love
speak
it.
with you more often because
Yeah.
I am the biggest overthinker in the world. Empath, overthinker, I think they kind of comes like hand to hand.
Okay.
But I need to like remind myself that it's out of my control at the end of the day.
You
I'll
can't
do the best of
control.
my-
Yeah, you can't control how people perceive you, and I always try to remind myself of that. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm constantly trying to prove myself to the people around me. That's so much energy being wasted. And I understand. It's just a whole conversation that we can dive
different
into.
episode.
Different episode.
And like sometimes I'll tell people like, look, this is just how I am. And if you do feel bad, just let me know.
Yeah.
Like I have no problem apologizing for it.
Yes.
Like
And taking
if someone's-
accountability, not just apologizing.
it's
I
like,
will
hey,
take
listen, if
accountability.
that, you know, made you feel bad or different or whatever. Like, okay, cool. I understand. I know now next time not to, and you can apologize for it. But I'm like, you'll still get my best version out.
Yeah.
Now that I know where someone's boundaries lie, then you can respect it.
Exactly.
But if you keep doing that from the get-go, I'm like, then you're not getting me. You're getting
The
a
version that you
perceived
want
version.
from me.
Exactly.
Wow, I love that. So what an
Yeah.
amazing
And
conversation that we're
it's so different.
having.
I was thinking like all my friends are so different from each other.
Yeah.
So how do I make sure that they're all happy? They either know who I am and they accept it, or I will have to be filtered with everyone to make sure that they
Yeah.
perceive the version of me that they like, which
Yeah.
is so difficult.
You
difficult.
can't live like that.
No.
You cannot expect
toxic.
you put yourself on such a pedestal of like, you have to be this person for this person. You have to be, no, I want to be myself. I want to feel my, I was talking to my therapist the other day and I was like, yeah, but I felt angry and I couldn't say it because then I don't want my friend to say that I'm overreacting. And then she was like, you know what, Rahab, this is what you felt and your friend accepts you and loves you for the person that you are. So if you were angry once or you were emotional, she's gonna accept you because she knows that's who you are.
Right.
This you overreact on something that maybe for her or for him it doesn't matter, but that's the person you are. You care about that and it's fine.
Yeah.
And I just put so many things in perspective, like, oh, so I can
be
be myself.
Yeah.
It's fine. I
It's
can be
fine.
myself.
Yeah, just be yourself and it's fine.
Habi,
Honestly, amazing conversation.
Such an amazing
Thank you.
flow that
I
we
would be your
had.
friend now.
We're gonna go have coffee, all of us. You're
Done. That sounds like a
Normally
plan.
we finish the podcast with 2 questions.
Okay.
So we're gonna ask to you and
Okay.
feel free to answer or not if you feel comfortable.
Okay, sure.
The first question is if you went back in time and you could speak with your 10-year-old version of you, what would you tell him?
Explore more.
More, even more.
Explore more. Explore more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Just
it, explore more.
I
Yeah,
love
I'm not the person to live with regrets. I don't live like that at all. But it would just be to explore more,
I
push
love
it a
that.
little bit more.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, and the final question of the episode would be, you have the mic and you have the space and it's a safe space. So do you feel the need to say anything to the world? If you do, please go on.
I think the only thing I could probably say is we have to start thinking about what we know rather than what we know to how we think. And I think if every human being was able to do that, to consider it's not about the information, but it's how we actually use that information. How do we think? What are the questions that we ask? Everything needs to be linked with your mind, your body, and your soul. And I think that's the most important thing. And if we did that in whatever aspect, be it film, be it art, be it, medicine, be it whatever, I think we would solve a lot more problems than create them.
Oh, I love that. You're a genius,
I
Azir.
think
Oh,
that's
thank
all.
you.
That's all we needed to hear. I
Yeah.
mean, everything from the beginning to the end has been like revolutionary. My mind has expanded a lot.
Thank
so
you.
thank you for that.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. I'm glad we could do that.
Thank you on behalf of every watcher,
Thank
honestly.
you. Thank you. Thank you for having me and having the ability to go and explore. A lot of people are not in that space to be like, hey, let's go and explore. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
me. Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening. I am sure that you have probably learned a lot from these. So yeah, we'll see you next week. And thank you so much for watching as always.
Please share this episode with anyone who you think it's gonna resonate with, and make sure to like it if you liked the episode. Comment your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe. We love you guys so much.
you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye bye.
Have conversations.
Have conversations.